We'll turn my camera on here and we will get things rolling. So yeah, it's great to be here. I wanted to start first by just saying thank you to the YPN committee for the opportunity to present today. Um, I wanted to just kind of give us a little bit of a background and just kind of, I guess, lay out the situation of how we ended up here today with me presenting. I think it's kind of funny or ironic almost that I'm presenting on AI. I'm a guy that grew up on a ranch down in southeast Saskatchewan. I used dial-up internet till I was 18, and over the past 5 years, I've started to become curious about how to write code, how to build software, how to, I guess, kind of just expand some of my knowledge base. And AI has greatly helped me to learn those skills and so much more. So when I had the opportunity to come and present today, I jumped on the opportunity because I am excited to share some of the different ways that AI has helped me advance my career and to really learn more efficiently. And for me, AI has given me the opportunity to really grow my mindset, expand my vision, and kind of reimagine what's even possible. The idea of presenting something like this, 2 or 3 years ago was so far fetched that I would have never imagined, right? Just the ability to be able to build custom software and present it exactly as how we envisioned it and how we wanted to see it has been very empowering for me. And so the way I wanted to do this presentation is I wanted to do it a little bit differently. I wanted to do something that I've never really seen before. So I decided to build this presentation that we're looking at. I built it as a web application, an AI-powered web application that features automations and custom AI-powered applications that we'll look at throughout the presentation. Just to kind of give you a quick understanding, this whole presentation is built off of a database that this AI assistant has access to. So the idea here is that after I do the presentation today, we're going to run through everything together, and then I'm actually going to publish this site to the web, and you'll be able to go in and interact with this web application. And the other thing behind that is I know that there's a lot to talk about when it comes to AI because there's just such a vast amount of knowledge and information to try and take in. So what I wanted to try and give you, everyone that attended today, at the end of the presentation, you're going to be presented with multiple different QR codes. And if you scan those QR codes and you provide some feedback survey, then you're going to get sent a one-page documentation that's going to lay out all of the different links to different products that we've looked at. I'm going to pull up a quick video and let you see for yourself what that's actually going to look like. So I'm going to start just by looking at the end of the presentation here. You're gonna be presented with these three different QR codes. So these QR codes here are what you're going to be able to view. Essentially, how it works is you can just scan the QR code, and then you're going to automatically get sent a one page like this. And this top link here, you can click into that top link, and it's actually going to open up another web page that I've built. But it just looks a lot more neat and organized, and I thought would maybe help people. It makes it a lot more approachable, I think, rather than trying to look at things through just links on a piece of paper, right? This kind of makes it more fun, more interactive, and that's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to get across today is that AI can be approachable, and it can be very, very interesting to learn. It just takes a few steps to starting to learn how to learn properly, I would say. This is something that I've developed to help. So this here that we're looking at is a customized custom instruction builder. And so this is probably one of the most important things that I can share today. And like I said, if you fill out that form, you're going to automatically get this emailed to you with all of these assets. And I'm going to encourage you, we're going to go through this later in the presentation today on how we actually apply this and what that could look like for building your own set of custom instructions inside of an LLM. And I wanted to give you this resource guide just to try and help continuing to learn after the presentation. I know that from conducting presentations for a living, I know that one of the biggest issues with that in the market is that it's tough to take in all the information you need and then be able to grab everything that you just went through as an actual resource to really help you learn after the fact. So that's what you're going to get if you fill out that form. Great little resource guide. With that, I will carry on through our presentation. So now that you've heard a little bit about me and my background, I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, DOSBot.
Please, let me welcome you to the AI revolution. Isn't it crazy that I was made by uploading an image and a few simple prompts, all within a matter of moments? I am DOSBot. Enjoy the presentation.
Right. So just an example of some like fun new ways that we can utilize AI, we can interact with it. I'm going to get into the presentation overview. I'm not going to touch on every one of these individually, but the general concept and the idea here is that as we work through our presentation from the start to the finish, we're going to start with some of the kind of key fundamental areas and kind of give a little bit of context as to what the AI industry looks like, right? What does that landscape look like? Who are some of the major competitors or major companies that are producing this? And what does that look like for us as consumers? And then I'm going to get into the AI Chat 101 prompts and guides. We're going to talk about building some custom instructions. Then I'm going to get into the different ways that models think and give you a little bit of context on how to help choose the different AI models that you're going to be working with. I've got some different analogies that I've kind of coined and come up with myself to try and give a little bit of a simpler explanation to some complex topics. And then I'm going to get into some fundamental differences between some of these models. I'm going to talk about Notebook LM, which is a product from Google. It's an extremely handy tool, and we'll look at why that's so handy, because it handles the data a little bit differently than a traditional LLM does. Then we're going to look at building custom software solutions and kind of what that really means or why someone might want to do that. And then I've got a couple examples of those software solutions here that we will run through as we get to them in the presentation. So just to start off with, looking at this, understanding the competitive landscape of 2025. The reason I brought this up is just to really give some context as to where we're at right now in the AI industry, and just how much money is how much capital is being deployed, and how much time is being spent and focused. One of the craziest stats that I've heard lately is the amount of money that's going to be spent on AI infrastructure over the course of the next several years is more than that of the interstate project across the states. It's more than the Manhattan project in current days dollar, all combined together. So long story short, there's hundreds of millions of weekly active users across all of these different platforms. I thought it might be handy just to try and, I guess, introduce some of these companies too, so that you can become familiar with who's creating products and who's not. So Gemini, Google has launched Gemini. They just launched their newest model last weekend. It's incredible. If you haven't got the chance to check it out, you absolutely should. ChatGPT, created by OpenAI. They are probably the most predominant in the space, most well-known. Claude is a company from Anthropic, which is backed by Amazon. And then you've got Llama from Meta, which is actually a really unique position that they've taken in the market. Because it's so competitive and you've got these three main producers, what Meta has done is they've taken the standpoint of simply building open source models, meaning that developers can go in and actually pull all of the key fundamental details and computer science details from their models and actually rebuild those, repurpose them for their own use. So a completely different market to try and tackle, but just to give you a quick snapshot. And then of course, Microsoft Copilot, they have a product as well. Then we talk about, I talked about this already quickly, so I'll kind of breeze over it, but like about over $300 billion being invested in AI infrastructure and AI talent in 2025 alone. So that's just to give you kind of a scope of what we're looking at here. And the biggest reason that I wanted to, like, what caught my attention with this when I started to become interested in learning more about AI, I started to look at, is this a trend? Is this just a fad? Is the technology actually going to get the support that it needs and actually become useful enough that it becomes adopted at a large scale? And I guess the simple answer from where we're at right now is I would say yes, we're definitely working our way towards that. But the current AI that we interact with on a day-to-day basis, some of it really is not, I would say, quality enough to be used in a day-to-day business setting. But with that being said, something that keeps getting reiterated to me is that this is the worst that the technology will ever be. The technology is only going to get better over time, and from what I've seen over the past 3 years, just for reference, OpenAI released ChatGPT to the public for the first time November 30th, 2022. So we are very close to coming up on kind of a 3-year anniversary for ChatGPT being available in the market. I've been a user since one of the first couple of weeks, and it's been absolutely incredible watching the transformation of how well these models are starting to perform and some of the specific tasks, especially once we learn how to better communicate with these models and with these machines. Because at the end of the day, something we all need to take into consideration and to always remember is that these models, they are machines, right? And just like learning how to use any type of machinery, whether that be large farm equipment or a new complicated tool at work, it's a machine, and if we learn how to better operate those machines, we're going to get a lot better outputs. And that's what I think the overarching message today is, that a lot of what I've seen people interact with AI systems, they just have never been shown how to properly interact with them. Therefore, a lot of the time the results aren't accurate or aren't as good as they could be if the user had better instructions on how the system works, I believe. So I just wanted to touch on the chat 101, kind of what I'm talking about here as far as giving it this line right here: context plus custom instructions equals powerful AI assistance. So here's what that looks like. Okay, so you can just ask a chat, what is machine learning? You're going to get a very generic response, right? There's no context. There's nothing specific that's going to enable the AI machine to give you more tailored, more specific examples. But what happens if we were to give it some purpose and explain who we want it to talk to, right? So now that same system prompt, you look at, you're an expert data scientist, explain machine learning to a business executive. So we're doing two things here, right? We're doing two things. One is we are defining the role that it plays. So it's a data science expert. And then we're defining who is trying to learn from this material, right? So a business executive, now it has context of who it is and how it should perform. And it also knows who it's tailoring this market to, or this presentation to. So you're going to get a lot better response. And now take that one step further. What if you give it that same system prompt? You're still trying to learn about machine learning, but now you upload some context, some data, whether that be a spreadsheet, whether that be a form, it doesn't matter what that looks like, but you're uploading some sort of a data. And then you say, based on our company data, explain machine learning opportunities. And now you get specific actionable insights for your business, because you have to bring relativity and context to these vast machines in order to get the kind of results that I think that we're all looking for. So this is a full walkthrough of how I use the built out my custom instructions. And the reason that building custom instructions is so crucial is because without giving context and without giving guidance as to how we want these systems to respond, they just have very generic, and they are inherently built to be agreeable. So that's one of the biggest things that I can try to iterate throughout this presentation, is that if you're using ChatGPT or an LLM just out of the box, meaning that you have not created any personalization or custom instructions, there's a very good chance that you're going to get misleading information, and or just far less accurate or less relevant information to you or your business. So with this web application, I should say, being posted publicly after this, you'll all be able to go in and view this video, and it shows in-depth walkthrough of me copying and pasting this, going through the questions that I ask, and just me showing some insights as to how I interact with these chat models in order to set up my custom instructions. So rather than me going through that today, I'm just going to leave this here for you, and we will. You can go through that at your own time. But I just wanted to give you a context that it's very important that we set up these custom instructions and that we dictate how we want the machines to work with us, talk to us, communicate with us, and how we want them to process information. And the next important thing is understanding the fundamental differences between reasoning and non-reasoning models. Okay. And I have some different analogies kind of prepared for this, but I'm going to touch on this really quickly to give you kind of a quick touch point on how to differentiate whether you're using a reasoning or a non-reasoning model. So a non-reasoning is going to be the quickest example, or sorry, the quickest answers. It's going to be, a very straightforward answer. I would say that anything you're going to go to Google and just type into the search bar, you want an answer on, what's the newest movie, what's the latest game, what's the simple answers, you're going to be fine using the non-reasoning version. It's a lot quicker, it's a lot more efficient. But using the reasoning model for everything else, anything that requires you to really think about something, there's a really good chance that you're going to need to use a reasoning model, because if we need to think about it as humans, there's a good chance that these machines need a more refined process, right? Because clearly the machine's not actually thinking, it just has a much different system in place that allows it to perform differently. So I'm going to let my co-pilot here, DOSBot, kind of walk through some of those different analogies here. And when I talk about choosing a vehicle, I'm talking about choosing an AI vehicle, right? And I'm talking about the differentiation between a reasoning model and a non-reasoning model. So let's hear what DOSBot has to say on this.
When it comes to choosing which model to work with, think about like this. Let's compare the AI model to a vehicle. If you need to haul something heavy, it will likely make sense to use a diesel truck. The opposite of that is taking a small car to the grocery store. It's small and efficient, therefore likely makes sense to use. But think if either of those vehicles were used in the wrong scenario. That's what it's like when using AI. Some tasks require a higher amount of computational power.
Okay, so I hope that message was kind of delivered clear enough. But the overarching message there is that different models just cost more money to run, right? And like it's typically that the better higher computing models obviously perform better, but there's a lot more cost on the manufacturer side, right? OpenAI, if you're using ChatGPT, or Google if you're using Gemini, it costs that model maker a lot more money to process more complex requests and to use more expensive models. So the idea there is that you don't need to use an advanced reasoning model to solve a simple question, just like you don't need to take a 1-ton diesel truck to the grocery store. But at the same time, you're never going to be able to hook up your fuel efficient Jetta to a 20,000 pound trailer and hope that you're going to make any progress with it, right? So I wanted to bring some awareness that not all chat systems are the same. Not all LLMs are built equal. There's some very distinct differences. So I want to talk about the calculator analogy. This is something that I've kind of coined myself, and I continue to think of trying to think through this process of how I work with AI systems and kind of where I've experienced success with them. And I think that this calculator analogy does a fairly good job of trying to summarize how I work with AI, and maybe a good way that we can reference or think about how to work with AI. So what if we compared using AI to a calculator to perform a math equation? We could manually do it, but the question becomes why? And is it a good use of our time to do calculations, especially if we talk about doing them at scale in a business environment? So again, to relate this back to a calculator here, I remember going to school when I was quite young, and we were always encouraged, no, you should learn how to add. And I don't disagree with that at all. But the purpose of this context here is that once you've determined that you know how to perform that math function, and you know how to do that simple task, why not look at how to optimize or to automate that process? And as we take a deeper look here, so we as humans use AI in a similar manner to a mathematician using a calculator to help solve complex problems. So when you think about that logically, right? If you're looking at doing, any type of advanced math, whether it be calculus or whatever exactly your physics or whatever you're trying to solve, you're going to have about you're going to have several different equations, and you still need to understand which equations to use and how to solve each of those individual equations, and then be able to put all of those equations together to provide your final answer. If we're relating this to math, and I think that AI is so similar. We as humans still have to be the ones driving and steering the ship. We still have to dictate what kind of output we're looking for. We have to create and use. We have to use our creativity, and we have to really use our own brain power and our own thought to think about how we want to direct these machines, because the output is very much going to be dictated by the amount of effort and input that we put into these. So key insight there is, just like a calculator, it doesn't replace mathematical understanding. AI doesn't replace human judgments and expertise. It's a powerful tool that amplifies our capabilities when we know how to use it effectively. That's the biggest takeaway. Is I see a lot, or I hear a lot of times of people saying that AI is used for people to be lazy, and it's used to cheat. It's used to, and yes, you can absolutely misuse this technology in a lot of different ways. But I think that where the real unlock comes is when you get excited about something enough that you want to learn. And that's the thing, is you have to, in order to use these effectively, you really have to want to learn. And that learning gap is going to start to get smaller and smaller as the technology gets better and better. And then there's also, guardrails you can put up. There's custom applications that can be pre-built for you. So there's lots of ways that you can still interact and use AI without taking a deep technical learning of it. I just wanted to share that, I think that one of the best ways to effectively use these systems is to really get interested and just play around with them and learn how they work. I want to talk quickly about an LLM versus a RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. So the idea here is that if you're using a traditional chatbot, so whether that be ChatGPT for this example, and you want to get some specific insight, or let's say that you have some data that you want to get some answers from, you can just upload it to that chat or connect it to that knowledge source. But the way that these systems actually pull that information is slightly different. So a standalone LLM is like I said, just a chatbot, and it doesn't process the information the same way as a retrieval augmented generation system does. So the biggest advantage here is that this combines an LLM with a retrieval layer that searches external data before answering. So I'm going to show you a real live example of what that looks like. A Notebook LM, it's a product from Google, and it is absolutely incredible how powerful it is, how accurate it has been for me, and just kind of what's available inside of this product. Okay, here's a look inside of Notebook LM. So what this is it looks like a traditional chatbot, but it is actually a structured RAG system that we're able to utilize the same way that we use any other chat LLM system, like ChatGPT, Gemini. So we can just ask like simple questions. What is an LLM? Okay, and so it gives us responses, but it's not giving us just randomly generated responses off the internet. It is given us responses only based off the context that we have uploaded. Right, so I uploaded this PDF. I uploaded all this stuff. And if I want to continue to expand on and like grow that knowledge, you can add more sources. You can do Google Drive, you can do website links, YouTube links. If you just want to copy and paste some text, you can do that. You do have a limit to the amount that you can add for a source, but it gives you some good context window here. So in this case, we're going to add a YouTube. Oops. This right here is what we want to add. Just a really simplified video breakdown of what a RAG system is. And now that gets added to our knowledge base here. So every time we ask a question, you're going to get these responses with these sources that pop up that show you exactly where it sourced that material from. It's going to highlight it for you. So it's really good way just to like double check your work and to always make sure that you're able to confirm the information that the AI is providing you. Gives you a nice peace of mind. And then some of these other features are really interesting. So audio overview, I have this pre-generated already. I want to show you a little clip of what that sounds like. But I also want to quickly look at like these flashcards. So you just click on it, it shows you the answer on the back. You can ask it to explain that further. It's going to pull more details from your files to be able to give you a better explanation of that flashcard. Isn't that incredible? And then if we want to generate reports, you can do mind maps, a lot of different interesting ways to interact with the data. So here's a clip or a portion of that audio overview.
These lower prices, they're only possible because of this insane infrastructure spending happening underneath. Right, the $300 billion figure you mentioned.
Exactly. It's a direct reflection of that war. Big tech collectively committing over $300 billion just in 2025 on GPUs, custom chips, the work.
Can you just break that down? It's almost hard to grasp. Over $300 billion.
Okay, so Amazon's planning around $100 billion.
Else trying to compete.
So pretty cool. It's a great way if you ever have to learn like really boring information and you're just kind of stuck learning. Now, I say it's great for learning boring information, but the reality is that platform is so handy for learning almost anything. If it's something you're excited about, great. The reason I brought up the boring part is because I have been able to, take some really dry content just in PDFs, upload it to this, click audio overview, and then when I'm driving or I'm walking or I'm out doing something, I'm all of a sudden getting to ingest this information that I really, it makes learning new topics way more approachable and much more interesting and engaging. So I think this product from Google, this Notebook LM, will become a far more used and prominently used business tool moving forward. Now I'm going to get into and talk a little bit about the power of custom software. And I think that this is a world that doesn't quite exist yet, but I believe that over the next 5 years, this whole mindset here will become very, very prominent in a business setting where you're able to take full control of the applications that you're using, right? And you're able to focus on the data that matters to you and your specific needs. You're able to help, it helps you think logically, understand business tools and identify improvement opportunities, primarily just for internal use, right? Like for myself, I'm not looking at creating these applications and selling them on the open market. I'm not looking at creating new product categories. I'm just simply looking at different ways that I can better utilize the data and the processes that I need to go through to do my job. I just look at how I can build custom software to be in full control of the data that I want to see and the information that I want to understand better. And the nice thing is that you're always in this continuous improvement loop, right? If you create the application and the data, you're able to consistently change it and design it exactly how you like. So enough talking. Let's look at some of the ways that this is actually that I've actually been looking at implementing some of this. This is an example of a data analysis and a data visualization tool that I've built just to try and make visualizing and working with our data seem more approachable. Okay, here's a traditional look at a bunch of sales data that is stored in an Excel file. Very, very common business application right here. And there's nothing wrong with it. Fundamentally, it still works. It just becomes a little bit tedious looking at all of these numbers and not really, I guess, being able to easily pull the important data or the data that you want to understand out of this. So I think that one of the best ways to help with that issue is to make the data more visually appealing. And then my solution to that was to essentially build a data ingestion site where you start by uploading a piece of data. And then once the data has been uploaded, file uploaded successfully, you normalize and import the data. And this should be, okay, data normalized successfully. So this is giving you all your different rows, all your different accounts, all the manufacturers, any anomalies, which is like issues with the way that the data has been stored. So there's 19 of those to review. So now we go to the dashboard and we can view all of the contents of that Excel sheet that we were looking at. But now we can ask questions about that data. You know, what are the top 5 accounts by revenue? Gives you a breakdown. Again, change however you want the information here to be shown. But the idea and the concept here is that it makes your data interactable, right? You can get the answers that you want right now. And of course, you still have access to the traditional data and you can run formulas and you can verify multiple different ways, right? But the nice thing is just to make it more conversational, make it more approachable to work with data, right? You can pull up different accounts. You can set this up, again, however you want. The whole idea is just to make the experience of interacting with our data a little bit more manageable and hopefully help give us some better insights or just make our lives a little bit easier. There we go. That's that last statement there at the end is this may not be anything that is extremely revolutionary or anything that's brand new, but I know that for someone like myself that just sometimes I just have a difficult time trying to interact with a huge spreadsheet like that. I know that there's different ways, and there's probably a lot of people out there that are a lot more talented than I am that can build pivot tables and are very fluent with Excel, and they might look at something like this and say that they would never use it, that it's not needed, right? But I know that for someone like myself, and I know that I'm not alone in this, that sometimes tackling those huge endless rows of data in an Excel file feels so just life draining, right? And it creates more confusion than it does provide answers and clarity for you. So I think that you learning to visualize and work with our data in these different kind of customized ways, I think can be a huge breakthrough for us in a business setting. This next app that I developed it's called Penfolio. And the idea here is it's an AI-powered assistant slash day planner. The assistant part of it is actually false right now, I should say. This is just an AI-powered day planner as it sits. I need to add some actual automations and provide some more control to this actual web application. I think in order for me to classify it as an actual assistant, but it is an interesting little AI-powered day planner. Let's take a quick peek at how it works. Okay, here's a look at an app called Penfolio. I made this as a personal assistant slash AI powered day planner. And the way that it functions, you can add, tasks like you normally would. If I click sync to this Google Calendar, what it's going to do is it's going to appear in my calendar view. And I just used, I integrated with Google Calendar for the back end. And then since I'm hosting this web app myself, I'm just built out the calendar view however I wanted it to look. And then the nice thing is that you can then ask questions and get some insights about what's planned on your day, what your goals are, how you work towards those goals. There's a lot of different things that you can ask because all of that information is all stored in a central database, and the AI assistant has access to that database, so it's able to give you real insight. So let's take a look at what that looks like. If I ask something like, what do I have planned tomorrow and what do I need to prepare tonight? Okay, so here's our breakdown. So short answer, tomorrow you have two things on the calendar. The YPN AI presentation at 11 a.m. and a meeting with X at 3:15 p.m. You need to send the invite link an hour before. Gives me kind of a nice little summarized breakdown, right? And then gives me a plain view, one after another, for one at 11 a.m., one at 3:15. What to prepare for tonight, priority order with an estimated times. So final presentation run through 30 to 40 minutes. It gives me like a really comprehensive breakdown just based off of those two tasks that I have in my calendar, right? Um, so it's just nice to be able to have some actual conversation and be able to focus your attention where you need to focus. Easy to forget about things, and this is a great way to help keep your focus and keep your mind on track. Yeah, so again, maybe nothing too earth-shattering or crazy as far as new invention goes, but the idea here is just to start to learn, how to work with AI systems, even at a small scale. But if you apply it to something that actually matters to you and something that you have built custom around your life, all of a sudden the having the ability to use that AI all of a sudden becomes much more powerful. And the nice thing here, like I talked about briefly before, that I can really start to add automations, right? If I know that I have a meeting with such and such tomorrow, and I know that I need to prepare documentation, I can have my assistants do some of that research and do some of that pre-meeting work for me on my behalf. Of course, just like anything else, it's always on us as the creators, as the owners, to ensure that the quality of that work is going to meet our standards. But the idea is just to start looking at how we can add AI assistance, even in a small way, and start working towards, getting rid of us doing the boring, mundane stuff. Not to sound too much like an old Python script, but to seriously look at automating some of the boring stuff and allowing us, especially in the workforce. I think one of the most empowering things that we can do is be empowered to use our creativity, right? Having these types of knowledge bases and these skills to be able to put together AI systems, I think it really just unlocks a whole nother level of comprehension and being able to think differently and think uniquely and unleash that creativity. So that's been one of the greatest gifts that I've got from learning to work with these AI systems. This video here, I wanted to show you a quick real life working version, I guess, of how a RAG system works and how an automation actually takes place.
Okay, so we have our AI-powered Q&A form here, and the idea was to show what how a RAG system really works in real life, real practice. So what I've done is I've built this app with an AI-powered development environment. And what I've done is I've built this with the knowledge base of everything that I had, all of the assets I had in my presentation. So the idea is here that you can scan a QR code. You'll get this form that pops up. You ask your question. You submit your question. And now, as we can watch what happens here on the back end, it happened too quick even. Question was submitted. Pulls up my name, tag, output, submitted. Data gets stored as processed, so AI retrieval relevant presentation chunks and generates a response. Markdown files created, email sent via resend. Now I will go and check my inbox. Here it is right here. So now this shows up in my inbox and I can review what the AI has already pulled out. Definition of a RAG. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. It is a system or approach that combines the capabilities of large language models with external retrieval mechanisms. Yada, yada, yada. And you know what? It doesn't look that great, but at the end of the day, it functionally works. So that's
So that is a quick snapshot of kind of how an AI automation works in the background. And the whole idea here is that you're gonna be able to try this out for yourself. That kind of concludes my presentation. So just to clarify, this QR code on the left here is going to give you the option to go through, ask me a question. I'm going to get sent an AI response, and then I can choose to build on that response, or I can just pass that information directly on to you. Just the idea there is that although we're creating an AI automation, I didn't want to just send that AI on response back to you in case it missed something, right? It's possible that these systems make mistake, especially from someone like myself that is just learning how these systems work and learning how to implement these at scale. So I get your questions will get emailed to me. I'll be able to review it and add or change anything, and then I can try and get back to you in that way. This is just my traditional contact information. As touched on at the beginning of this presentation, I work for an electrical rep agency, and I'm excited to continue to see how AI can empower my career in the electrical industry. I really enjoy learning, and it's been a great time. The AI Revolution feedback. This is what you need to scan and fill out a couple simple questions, and you will get automatically emailed a copy of that AI one-page documentation that kind of outlines a lot of the things that we've talked about today, and you will get that prompt guide to help you build your own LLM system or GPT system. So thank you very much for the time today. I really appreciate it. This is one of my first attempts at presenting AI in a public way. So I really do appreciate you all taking the time.
Dawson, that was fantastic. That was a great first attempt. So lots of good information there, very insightful, very informative as well. Thank you so much. At this time, I want to open the floor to any questions or comments. If I can maybe have the Q&A session opened up by Mackenzie, if she's on right now. Mackenzie is our vice chair of the YPN Atlantic Region Committee. Mackenzie, if you're there, we can maybe start to open up the Q&A session at this point.
I don't know if there is any questions, Dennis.
We had one that came up. I'll try to get Mackenzie on here shortly. We did have one come up about confidentiality. So you were going through a lot of different tools here, a lot of different AI systems, but if let's say I'm at a company dealing with confidential information, how can our data privacy be ensured when using some of these AI tools? Do you have any experience in that, or how you kind of address that in this sense?
Yeah, you know what? And that's a great point. And I kind of apologize for not addressing this earlier, but absolutely that is something that's important. And when I look at, for example, starting to talk to my boss and our leadership about how we implement AI, one of the most important things that I brought up is that we need to look at getting an enterprise version of ChatGPT. It's whatever, 20, $30 a month, but they look after all of that on the back end in ensuring that data is being handled privately and securely. So that's one big thing is that, I highly recommend that anyone that is on this call that is now curious or interested about AI, make sure you do two things. One, talk to your supervisor or boss and make sure that you've confirmed that you're working within your company guidelines. And I believe that within those company guidelines, all of those things that question should be wrapped up into that. I'm in no way, shape, or form telling you to go and try and experiment in your businesses. But what I am saying is just trying to open up that door for conversation and know that those enterprise models exist for a reason and that they are there to give you that extra level of security and support that you need as an organization.
It's wonderful. Thank you, Dawson. Thanks. We have Mackenzie now. My apologies, Mackenzie. We have you on now.
No worries. No worries.
Sorry,
everybody. I have lost my voice on the weekend, but thank you, Dawson. That was an awesome presentation. Really great insight. I know myself, I like in terms of AI for me, I just like get trapped in this thing of like Copilot or ChatGPT. So to see how many actual options there are, That's amazing. I know I'm just trying to like dabble in and try to figure out how AI helps me in my business. But one thing was that data analytics part. Now, how do we actually, because I think for a lot of people on this call, we're always like running sales reports and running sales numbers, dealing with spreadsheets. What is the best plan of action there? Which platform was that? How do we upload our Excel? What platform was that? I guess like I think you had mentioned that were like creating apps. And to me, like saying create an app to do this sounds terrifying. So I guess it's like what is the like really Cole's notes? Where's the best like 3-point thing of how to get started on that?
Yeah, and that's it. Again, this is kind of this whole topic of AI. There's so many different layers to it, and I didn't want to do a presentation based on how I built this presentation or like how I built the apps, just because I thought that I would add confusion and B just can't fit that all in. But
Right.
I used this actual app that we're looking at right now, this presentation, as well as that data analysis was all built through Replit. And that's in that one-page take-home that you're going to get if you fill out this form. You're going to get a direct link to Replit. Again, is that something that people are going to go out and start using day one? Absolutely not. The best place to start is working inside of your chat system, whether that be ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini, and build those custom instructions. Right? Work on building those custom instructions. That should be everyone's first goal. After you do that, I would say a couple months down the road, once you start like working more with AI, you will eventually start to see that there are building an application isn't that far out of the norm. But I think that more so what I was looking at today was to get people an understanding and get them curious enough where you could ask your boss or management or whoever within your organization about actually getting a third party company to come in and actually build this for you, right? Because I can't that's my ideas. I'm not really here trying to build applications that we will use as a company or that will be client focused. The idea is just here's the concept of what's possible. Now, if the management thinks that's a good idea, and maybe I can refer them to an AI agency that can actually implement those real applications. But that's been one of the biggest things is get curious, learn a little bit, and then you get that chance to reiterate. So I apologize, I can't give you more of a direct answer, but
No, no, no.
I did use Replit is the name of the platform. It's a
Okay.
very beginner friendly integrated development environment, which sounds a little bit tedious or like nerve wracking to try and dive into. It's been something taken me the last 3 years to try and wrap my head around, and this is kind of the first customer focus facing
Okay.
application that I've actually developed.
Okay. I have another question for you just for like the general day-to-day use. Which AI platform do you use day to day the most? Like if you were like starting AI tomorrow, what would you say like use X platform
Yeah.
as your like go-to?
So ChatGPT would be my go-to,
Okay.
and the only reason I say that, I think we're all creatures of habits, and I think that for myself, the they were the first mover. They were the first company that actually had a public-facing consumer product, ChatGPT, to the market, and I think that everyone will start to learn that as you start to work with these systems, especially over a couple of years, my chat GPT now is so customized to me and understands me so well that for example, I wanted to start reading a new book and listening to new audiobooks. I asked chat GPT, based on everything that you know about me, what are the top 3 recommendations? And let me tell you, the recommendations and level of depth that these systems have gotten to now, especially after giving them the years of data and experience and working with them, is absolutely incredible. So whether that's ChatGPT for you, or it's Copilot, or it's Gemini, it really doesn't matter. All of the top end models are consistently competing for the best. Gemini just released their new model last weekend, and it is truly out of this world. If no one has experienced working with Google Gemini, you should go in, and I encourage you all to go in and try and see what's possible with it. It is absolutely incredible.
Okay, that is amazing. Kind of maybe similar along the same lines. We have a question from Mike. You mentioned earlier that some of the AI is more efficient energy wise. Which ones are more or less efficient?
Yeah, so that's like when we start looking at when we start looking at the basic chat model. See if I can actually pull it up here because this used to be a lot different. Up until about 2 months ago, there was actually about 8 of these different models that would drop down. And it was very, very cumbersome, very confusing. Now inside of ChatGPT, they've actually done a lot of that thinking for us on the back end. So you either just choose auto, which will decide whether or not it's complex enough to be seen, or you can pick instant, which is your non-reasoning model. That's going to give you your direct insight understanding of these, or that's going to give you your most direct instant answer. But again, these are supposed to be used for very simple queries. And then the more time intensive ones, you're going to want to toggle on thinking. Or if you pay for it, you can go up to pro, which is the like research PhD level intelligence. But again, for the most part, thinking, and then you can even go inside thinking and choose standard or extended. So it's like it really is based on your problem you're trying to solve. If you're trying to look at this from a corporation standpoint and trying to walk through seven different step process on how you get to a final result, you're going to need to use a model that is capable of providing that higher level of output. But if you just have a simple problem, you can try using just a simpler model.
Okay. Here's a question. Obviously, you have been diving into AI for a while. What is something about AI futuristically that scares you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that there's if you want, you can listen to Sam Altman does a pretty good interview on through Y Combinator on this. But the one thing that is I would say scary is who will develop AGI first. So that is artificial general intelligence, which is essentially yeah, it's a well, I'm not going to get into it, but AGI is something that worries me, and we are in a constant battle for that supremacy. U.S. and China are the two major constituents in that race, and it is if you're following what's going on in the states, it is full speed ahead. They are now mandating this in throughout schools like kindergartens, K to 12 schools. They're like implementing AI at massive, massive scales. And I think that everything should be handled with slight caution and make sure that everything is, well received, well understood, and properly used before it gets rolled out to the masses, in my opinion.
Yeah, great answer. Okay. I don't see any other questions coming in. I think that's it for me. I kind of have a fun one. What are your thoughts on like meta glasses or any of the like virtual like eyewear, Apple, all of these brands that are coming out with this stuff? Where's your 2 cents lie on that? And or
They,
do you already own some?
You know what? I don't. I don't own any yet,
Okay.
but I will tell you that this will be the most interesting thing that we are going to experience over the next 5 years. Because really quick background here. Oh shoot, we're gonna go over on time. I apologize. Really quick background. The guy that Johnny Ives is the guy that invented essentially everything Apple, from the iPad to the iPhone to the iMac. He designed all of that. He actually left Apple, started his own company, and that company was purchased by OpenAI. And they are now in collaboration together to create a wearable device from ChatGPT. They are getting into the hardware space. And then, like you said, Meta is launching their own Ray-Ban glasses. You've got Google coming out with their own products. So I think that's a future that we're going to see very soon. Is we're getting away from phones where we're viewing a screen to wearable devices that take agentic action on our behalf.
That seems scary to me,
Yes,
but
absolutely.
it is
That's
the
totally.
future. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's all from us. Thank you so much, Dawson. That was a wonderful insight. I know it's a lot of information to kind of cram into an hour, but we really appreciate it. And that was a great takeaway for us and this team.
Awesome. I appreciate it so much and had a blast doing this. So thank you again.